インドネシア日本サイバーセキュリティウェビナー2022にご参加いただきありがとうございます。本ウェビナーはインドネシアと日本のサイバーセキュリティについて産官学連携することで共に学び意見交換をして高めていくために企画されました。最後までぜひお楽しみください。まずはじめに本ウェビナー主催の一般社団法人情報サービス産業協会副会長専務理事宮本武氏より動画にて挨拶を申し上げます。日本語でお聞きになる場合にはオリジナル音声、インドネシア語でお聞きになる場合にはインドネシア語を選択してください。
情報サービス産業協会副会長兼専務理事の宮本でございます。本日はインドネシア政府工業省よりイグナティウス・ワルシト様、インドネシア防衛省エキスパートのドクター・スホノ・ハルスオ・スパンカット様、そして産業界からはインドネシア商工会議所バイスチェアマンのドクター・イルハン・アクバル・ハビビ様、インドネシア IoT 産業協会アスヨッティ会長テグー・プラセティア様をお招きし、また日本側からも政府内閣サイバーセキュリティセンター渡辺信弘企画官、国立情報通信研究機構中尾浩二主幹研究員の参加をいただきまして、サイバーセキュリティウェビナー2022を開催できること、誠に光栄に存じます。さて、インドネシアと日本の2国間の関係は、同じ環太平洋の島国同士として、従来から非常に緊密な関係を築いてまいりました。現在、インドネシアには約2万人を超える日本人が居住し、日本には約6万人のインドネシアの方が居住しているそうです。また、日本貿易振興機構が2020年に発表した調査によれば、ジャカルタ、西ジャワ州を中心に1400社を超える日本企業がインドネシアに現地法人を設立する形で進出しています。このうち製造業が871社で 60% 弱、卸売小売業が247社で 16% ほどとなっております。大変残念ながらソフトウェアを含む情報通信産業は29社にとどまっております。申し上げるまでもなく、新型コロナは日本やインドネシアの経済、社会に大きなダメージをもたらしています。ウイルスとの戦いはもうしばらく続くのでしょうし、最終的に人間が勝利できるかどうかも本当のところ未だよく分かりません。ただ確かなことは、新型コロナの発生を機会としてこのダメージを極力小さくし、逆にこれまで生まれていなかった新たな価値の創造のためにデジタル技術が大活躍しているということです。そしてそのことは SDGs の基本理念である誰一人取り残さない社会を作ることにもつながるものです。こうした歴史の大きな流れの中で、今後の両国の経済、社会のデジタル化が一層進展し、両国間で IT やそれを支えるセキュリティ分野での交流がますます発展していくことを心から願うものです。最後に本日の講演が皆様のビジネスの参考となることを願いまして、私の開会の挨拶とさせていただきます。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。続きまして、内閣官房内閣サイバーセキュリティセンター国際戦略グループ企画官渡辺信弘様よりご挨拶をお願いいたします。
Selamat siang。皆様こんにちは。内閣サイバーセキュリティセンターの渡辺と申します。本日は、インドネシア日本サイバーセキュリティセミナー2022でお話しさせていただく機会をいただき、誠にありがとうございます。本日は、日本のサイバーセキュリティ戦略についてお話しさせていただきたいと思います。次のページをお願いします。まず、こちらのスライドなんですけれども、今、日本でサイバーセキュリティ政策を行う体制、について、書かれております。一番上に書かれている総理大臣、プライムミニスターのもとにですね、サイバーセキュリティ戦略本部が設置されておりまして、 この本部の中に、関係する政府機関、および、政府機関の大臣や有識者といったメンバーで構成されています。また、議長は日本政府の官房長官が務めております。そして、我々の所属する内閣サイバーセキュリティセンター、ニスクはですね、このサイバーセキュリティ戦略本部の事務局を務めておりまして、関係省庁との連携、およびその取りまとめを行っているところであります。この関係省庁の中には、日本政府全体のですね、デジタル化を推進するために、昨年9月に設立されましたデジタル庁のほか、警察庁、総務省、経済産業省、外務省、防衛省といった省庁が含まれております。次のページをお願いいたします。こちらのスライドはですね、先ほど時差の専務理事の方からもお話がありましたようにですね、今、COVID-19 コロナによってですね、様々な社会に影響が及んでいますけれども、それに、引き換えにといいますか、その影響もあってですね、日本国内で今、デジタル化が非常に進んでいるということを示したものとなっております。例えば、このスライドでは、左上からオンラインショッピングの利用ですとか、ビデオ配信サービスの利用、大学におけるオンライン授業の実施、また、オンラインによる医療の実施する機関といった数がですね、増えているということが示されております。次のページをお願いいたします。またですね、一般企業においても、リモートワーキングを実施する企業も増えているというところであります。日本ではコロナの感染拡大防止のために、緊急事態宣言を2020年4月と2021年3月に発出しておりますが、その2回の緊急事態宣言の時に、特にリモートワーキングの利用が増えているということがわかります。また、それに伴ってクラウドサービスを利用する企業も増えているということがわかります。しかし、これらの利用の増加に伴って、こういったリモート環境を構築するためのソフトウェア、リモートデスクトップを狙ったサイバー攻撃や、その利用するクラウドサービスを狙ったサイバー攻撃といったものも急速に増えているということが、下のグラフからわかります。次のページをお願いいたします。このようにですね、コロナ感染拡大への対応も背景にしながら、新しい生活様式として、ニューノーマルといったその普及がですね、生活様式の普及が急速に進んでいると。仕事環境もそうですし、生活面でもそうですが、そういったその新しいデジタル化がその進んでいく中で、一方で、デジタル社会においてはですね、先ほどのお話にもありましたように、サイバー空間というものが公共空間化していきまして、日本でもすべての国民がサイバー空間を利用するようになっていきます。一方で、こうしたそのサイバー攻撃、サイバー空間ではですね、サイバー攻撃を受けるリスクというものが常に存在するといった課題がございます。そういった観点からですね、国の安全保障の観点からも、すべての国民がサイバーセキュリティをしっかり確保していくことが必要になっていきます。そのため、日本では、先ほど紹介しましたサイバーセキュリティ戦略本部において、昨年9月、サイバーセキュリティ戦略というものを策定いたしました。もともとあったものを改定したというところでございます。この戦略の中では、サイバーセキュリティ・フォー・オール、誰も取り残さないサイバーセキュリティ、を標語としまして、一番下に書いております、 自由、公正、かつ安全なサイバー空間といったものの確保に向けた必要な取り組みというものを取りまとめております。本日はこれらの取り組みのうち、国際協力の観点からお話をさせていただきます。次のスライドをお願いします。こちらのスライドは、サイバーセキュリティ戦略のうち、国際社会の平和、安定及び、我が国の安全保障への寄与について、書かれたスライドになっております。ある国でサイバーインシデントが起きた場合、その影響というものはですね、国境を越えて波及して、他の国にもすぐに様々な影響を及ぼしていきます。そのような背景から、自由、公正、かつ安全なサイバー空間というものを確保していくためには、国際社会の平和、安定、安全に貢献していくことが、これまで以上に重要になっていきます。そのため、サイバーセキュリティ戦略では、サイバー空間の安全とセキュリティを確保するため、日本が外交及び国家安全保障の議題の中で、サイバーに関する課題というものをこれまでよりもより優先していくということを決定しております。次のスライドをお願いいたします。特に、日本はこれまで以上に ASEAN を含むインド太平洋地域との協力を強化していく必要があります。また、多様なニーズに効果的に対応していくため、日本の関係省庁と官民の連携を強化し、国や民間セクターを含む様々なレベルで多層的に協力することが重要になっていきます。そのような観点から、サイバーセキュリティ戦略に基づいて、昨年12月に、サイバーセキュリティ戦略本部において、サイバーセキュリティ分野における開発途上国に対する能力構築支援にかかる基本方針、というものを決定いたしました。こちらのスライドは、この基本方針の内容を示すものとなっております。サイバーセキュリティの能力開発構築支援の必要性は、国連の報告書や海外の政策にも記載されており、能力構築支援にあたっては、同志国や国際機関、産業界、学会などの多様な関係者と協力し、必要な支援を多層的かつ全国的に、かつ効率的に行うことが必要になってきます。特に ASEAN 地域を含むインド太平洋地域において、は日本もこれまで後ほどご紹介しますが、日本も様々な活動を実施してきておりますが、こうしたこれまでの成果と経験に基づいて、外交や安全保障を含むサイバー分野での協力を強化していくということを考えているところでございます。次のスライドをお願いいたします。このような能力構築支援の取り組みの一つとして、ASEAN と日本ではサイバーセキュリティ分野における協力の観点から、2009年より日ASEAN サイバーセキュリティ政策会議を開催しています。これはサイバーセキュリティ政策における協力を推進していくため、ASEAN 加盟国と日本のサイバーセキュリティに関わる政府機関の間の枠組みとなっています。NISC はこの日 ASEAN サイバーセキュリティ政策会議の事務局を務めております。サイバーセキュリティ戦略で目指す自由、公正かつ安全なサイバー空間の確保は、イノベーションの主要な推進力の一つであると同時に、社会的及び経済的活動の促進と ASEAN の持続的な発展のために不可欠であるというふうに考えております。この日 ASEAN サイバーセキュリティ政策会議の下で、このスライドにも書かれている活動も含めて、昨年は10個の協力活動を推進しました。これらの活動の一つとして、昨年から産官学連携のための取り組みというものも実施しておりまして、後ほど 時差からこのプロジェクトについて説明があると思います。次のスライドをお願いいたします。先ほど10個の活動をしていると申し上げましたけれども、その中の一つとして、意識啓発にかかる活動をご紹介いたします。我々は昨年、モバイル端末のサイバーセキュリティをテーマに各国でインフォグラフィックを作成し、それを取りまとめた e ブックレットというものを作成しました。こちらがそれぞれの国で作成したインフォグラフィックとなっております。今年はこの e ブックレットを使用して意識啓発活動を実施していきたいというふうに考えております。次のスライドをお願いいたします。その他にもサイバーセキュリティにおける国際協力活動は様々な日本政府の組織によって行われています。左上のロゴに書かれている AJCCBC、日 ASEAN サイバーセキュリティ能力構築センターというのは、日本政府の支援によってタイ政府が運営しているものでございます。こちらは ASEAN 各国から政府サイバーセキュリティ担当者が集まって、ハンズオントレーニングを行ったり、技術者向けの競技イベントを開催しているものとなっております。また、右上にある JICA は、ODA によって開発支援を行っておる機関でございますが、現在、インドネシアやベトナムにおいて、サイバーセキュリティに関する支援プロジェクトを進めているところでございます。その他、左下にある経済産業省、右下にある総務省といった政府機関においても、様々なASEAN 向け、インド太平洋地域向けの支援活動というものが行われております。真ん中に書かれておりますニスク、我々のニスクではですね、先ほどの日 ASEAN サイバーセキュリティ政策会議のほか、これらの政府機関における活動の連携、強化に向けて全体の取りまとめ、調整を行っているという体制になっております。次のスライドをお願いいたします。本日の挨拶は以上となります。ご清聴ありがとうございました。自由、公正、かつ安全なサイバー空間の確保に向けて一緒に取り組んでいきたいと思います。ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。続きまして、インドネシアの皆様からもご挨拶を頂戴いたします。インドネシア工業省国内産業能力強化分野エキスパートスタッフ化学製薬繊維産業総局長代理イグナティウス・ワルシト様より動画にてのご挨拶となります。インドネシア語でお聞きになる場合にはオリジナル音声、日本語でお聞きになる場合には日本語を選択してください。
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Nama Budaya, dan salam kebajikan. Good afternoon, Mr. Ilham Akbar Habi, Kadin Indonesia Association, Mr. Teguh Prastia, Asosiasi Internet of Things Indonesia Association, Mr. Suhono Harso Supakat, ITB Indonesian Academy, Mr. Miyamoto Takashi, JISA, Japan Information Technology Service Industry Association, Mr. Watanabe Nobuhiro, the National Center of Incident Readiness and Strategy for Cybersecurity, Japanese government, Mr. Nakao Keiji, the National Institute of Standard of Technology, Japan Academy, Mr. Amano Takashi of Toshiba Private Sector, Mr. Arifin Ritonga, Internet Initiative Japan Private Sector, and distinguished guests. ladies and gentlemen, praise to be our gratitude for the presence of God Almighty, because for His grace and grace, we are able to attend together today on Indonesia and Japan Cybersecurity Webinar 2022, protecting your business for cyber threat with video conference. And I would like to thank Kadin, SEOT, ICT, NICH, JSA for organizing this conference to engage collaboration between Indonesia and Japan related to cybersecurity. Distinguished guests, based on the mandate of Law Number 3 of 2014 concerning industry, the government worked to accelerate, spread, and evenly distribute industrial development throughout Indonesia. In order to achieve this target, the Ministry of Industry facilitated the development of industrial zone. A strategic policy is already taken by development industrial park, which have played an important role in economic growth of many developing and advanced developing nations. However, as developing and emerging economics seek increasing industrial output, there is a pressing need to balance economic growth with environment and social objectives. Strategic planning and effective management of industrial parks are needed to achieve economic, social, environmental goals. Therefore, the Ministry of Industry is responsible for and has committed to develop industrial parks to be more eco-smart, will provide more added value. The presence of industrial park has a responsibility in addition to being a place or location for industry to be able to carry out its production activity. It also provides economic and strategic value by providing facility and infrastructure that can be used jointly by industry. This included the ability to provide a digital infrastructure. Distinguished guests, 5G technology is now available, and we will be the last technology disruption. This technology can drive a big leap for digital innovation in Indonesia. Through 5G, the adoption and innovation of digital technology will be able to be utilized for digital infrastructure, digital government, digital economy, and digital society can be more achieved. For the industrial sector, 5G technology can be used to optimize use case in the manufacturing sector. For smart factory, including industrial automation, edge intelligence, supply chain optimization, maintain and device life cycle management, and factor floor communication. Thus, industrial park with smart infrastructure can be a pilot project with a sample scope. Digital infrastructure is needed in the industrial park, considering a digital service needed to support ICT technology capabilities in region and an organization. This structure, including networks, protocols, device, server, and stored, as well as security support. Distinguished and guests, Indonesia has entered the era of Industrial Revolution 4.0 with the inauguration of the Making Indonesia 4.0 roadmap delivered by the Ministry of Industry with a cross-sectoral initiative, namely the development of national digital infrastructure. This means that the Indonesia industrial sector must be ready for the digital transformation era. According to McKinsey, the potential use of digital technology in Indonesia until 2025 is 120 billion US, of which the manufacturing sector contributes 34.4 billion US, the largest compared to the retail sector, transportation, mining, food, telecommunication, health, public sector, utility, and financial service. Minister of Industry has established an industrial ecosystem 4.0, so called CD 4.0, which aims to build synergies and collaboration between parties to accelerate Industrial Park 4.0 transportation. Establish coordination between parties in accelerating Indonesia 4.0 transformation and build network and cooperation between parties in accelerating Indonesia 4.0 transformation. CD 4.0 is made on a openly access platform CD 4 Kemenprin Go ID. It believes that industry in Indonesia is able to accelerate the competitiveness through the transformation of Indonesia 4.0. In the face of the era of technology disruption, health, tourism, transportation, telecommunication, marketplace, etc. Considering this disruption, cybersecurity is most important part in the 4.0 revolution era in managing security system against internal and external problems. Distinguished guests, Indonesia has great potential for future growth with its infrastructure development and technology adaptation. The public sector is also now getting involved to enhance the country's cybersecurity capabilities. So, it's become increasingly clear that Indonesia move forward and safely embrace the power of technology and the internet as long as systems are well protected and people are increasingly trained and aware of importance of cybersecurity. Kaspersky report for the first quarter 2021 showed that as many as 25.7% of computer users in Indonesia were almost exposed to web-based attacks, and more than third, 28.3%, were targeted by local threats. The quarterly threat review draw on data for Kaspersky Security Network, a complex distribution infrastructure dedicated to processing cybersecurity-related data streaming from millions of volunteer participants worldwide. Distinguished guests, until now, the trend of hacking occurs through developments, taking data hostage due to data leaks, social engineering, phishing, and individuals who do not understanding digital education by disseminating personal data information to the public. This threat is often the case regardless of measure and targeted attack, such as backdoor, compromised system, ransomware, virus, and so on. Greater vulnerability in human factor technology can be run because there are people as sophisticated as any technology. Information technology used to support human in doing something. Based on this, the ministry continuing to collaborate with the Ministry of Communication and Information and State Cyber again to carry out education both in general and communication on scale that must be improved to industry player. Finally, I would like to thank you for letting me participate on the webinar. We hope for the role and support of all stakeholders to continue encouraging the growth of industry sector, which is also supporting by data and information security on the network, protocols, device, and server. That's all I can convey, and I hope that through this activity can improve future cooperation between Indonesia and Japan. Last but not least, Indonesia-Japan cooperation involved many important stakeholders and would not be realized without the active support from each of them. Therefore, it is our biggest hope for all of your support to create an effective cooperation coordination among us. Thank you. Expert staff for Minister for Industry, Ignatius Wasito.
ありがとうございました。国家情報通信技術評議会議長ワンチクナス、インドネシア商工会議所カディン研究技術機関長イルハム・アクバル・ハビビ様よりご挨拶をお願いいたします。
Hello? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm sorry, but I cannot hear anything. There's no audio here. Hello? 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 I cannot hear anything. Okay, I'm sorry, I cannot hear anything, but I just do my presentation without hearing anybody. There's a problem. Okay. Okay, well, thank you very much for your kind attendance, ladies and gentlemen, dear attendees. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon to everybody in Japan, and also to good day to everybody in Indonesia. My name is Ilham Habibi, and I'm giving now a presentation regarding cybersecurity and how to protect business from that. In that regard, may I see the presentation that was prepared? Or if it's not with the organizer right now, I probably have to share it. Can I see the presentation, please? Thank you. Okay. Okay, I think everybody can see my presentation. So again, welcome to my little presentation here. And it is about how to protect business from cyber threats. And I'm speaking here as the chairman of the Indonesian National ICT Council, or abbreviated as Untitled. Also, I am responsible for research and technology at the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or KADIN. Here on the second slide, you see the structure of the organization that I'm heading at KADIN. So you see me here on number 12. I'm the head of the Research and Technology Agency. The current head of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or KADIN, is Mr. Arshad Rashid. And on the next slide, this is the organization of Untitled, which is a government institution. It's sort of like a advisory agency, so we don't have executive power. In that regard, it consists out of two committees. One is the so-called steering committee, which is headed by the President of the Republic itself. On a daily basis, I report to the chief executive of the steering committee, which is the Minister for Planning, for National Planning, or the head of the National Development Planning Agency called Bappenas. Then you see on the lower sector, we have the executive team, which is headed by myself. Since 2014. So this organization actually exists since 2006, and I'm the fourth chief executive. All my predecessors were ministers. They were ministers of usually communication and informatics. And you can see the difference between the steering committee and the executive team is the executive team is truly cross-sectoral. We have people from the government, we have people from business, we have people from associations and civil society organizations, we have people from academia, etc., etc. We have a lot of different types of people participating in the executive team in order to make sure that we get the best input for ICT, because ICT is something that concerns all of us. Everybody in Indonesia has an interface with ICT these days, of course, and the more we have it since we are in the pandemic situation. And you can see on the fourth page, this is basically the task of Untitled. This is what we do. We formulate the general policy and strategic direction of the national development. Then also we resolve existing strategic issues. We conduct national coordination, and this is, as you can see here, not only at the level of central, but also local government, meaning, as you know, maybe that Indonesia has 34 provinces and 500 plus so-called regencies and independent cities. Yes, we work with all of them, but it depends on the location, sometimes very intensively, and sometimes it's not so much. And then also the state-owned enterprise, etc., etc. And the new task that we have since last year is we have to focus also on what we call the digital transformation, which is, I think, ongoing in every country right now, including Japan. So on page number 5, you can see that basically this is something we all have to adapt to, the so-called global mega trends. So whatever we do in the next decades, we have to face that. In Indonesia, the ones that are very visible is rapid urbanization. We are now at 50-50%, but it will be tilting towards more population in cities quite soon. So we think that in the final situation, we will have a 70-30 population, meaning 70% in cities, 30% in the countryside. Then, of course, the whole world faces climate change problems and resource scarcity. Then we have shifting of global economic power, particularly here in the Pacific. Then we have demographic change, the graying of society. At the same time, in Indonesia, we have a lot of young people coming into the picture. But at the same time, it's not only the number of young people, but also the character, the generational change in character, which partially has to do with the digital factor being there from day one. So we call the generations that live with digital factor from day one, the digital natives. And of course, we have this technology breakthrough all the time. That is global megatrends in the future. Now, in technology, in Industry 4.0 era, I think I don't want to say too much about this. You can see it has to do a lot with technology. Of course, it's connectivity is a prime factor. Then once we have data available through connectivity, we can analyze that and create an artificial intelligence out of that. And that actually enables us to have a better human-machine interaction. And based on all that, you can do advanced engineering and bring out new products and services that are in a position to improve the quality of the life in the future. On page 6, you can see that the process that we will have to go through if you want to achieve Industry 4.0. I think before already the Society 5.0 model was mentioned, and Industry 4.0 is something that is happening in parallel or in some cases preceding 5.0, because through Industry 4.0 process, all of us get smarter and live in a more better managed world and environment. That at least is our hope. So on base, that can also be very different if you don't take care about the cyberspace. So you can see on page number 8 that basically Indonesia's cyberspace is pictured like this. It gets very complicated here. I know it's a big and very complicated picture. You see that within the blue ellipsoid, you see a red circle. This is basically the central government with 34 ministries, 53 agencies, and then you have 34 provinces and then 514 regencies and independent cities. And this is just from the government standpoint of view. Of course, we have a lot of smartphone users. You can see the amazing amount of smartphone users in Indonesia, which actually is exceeding our population. And that is because some people like myself, we have more than one smartphone. And so we appear as a multiple user. And of course, we have also laptop users and smart TV users. But one thing is very important to understand here, that in Indonesia, the prime gate through the internet world is not the laptop, it's not the computer, it's not the notebook, it is the smartphone. So most people in Indonesia, I would say 90%, use the smartphone as the prime device to access the internet and be consumptive or productive on the internet. All the other data you can see, we have satellites here, we have data centers, we have what is that? The fiber optic cable as a so-called palapa ring connecting all of the major cities in Indonesia, particularly the capital cities in the provinces and the regencies. They're all interconnected. The challenge is that we have to connect not only city to city, but you go to the last mile, meaning household to household, school to school, or universities, hospitals, offices, all of that needs to be connected, and that's not by far not complete. And our hope is that by having a better infrastructure, which will be driven by 5G, hopefully in the future, then we can complete the picture and connect everybody as much as we can. So you can see that the cyberspace gets very complete and very complicated, and therefore a big space has also the potential to be attacked by people that want to misuse that space. And therefore, on page number 9, you see that we do have a lot of laws and regulation already about cybersecurity in Indonesia. I don't want to go in detail about this, but you see there's a law regarding national defense, national intelligence, and the army, the police, telecommunication, lots of laws. But the point is, we need to implement those laws and make them effective and really protect Indonesia, our people, our economy, our assets from those criminal attacks. And just as an example, what about the digital economy? You see here, there's a lot of charts, a lot of where you can see the major growth. Let's focus on the internet economy on the left-hand side. You see that in the year 2021, it has reached $70 billion already, and the growth in 1 year only is 49%. Then within 5 years or 4 years, from 2021 to 2025, if we assume an annual growth of 20%, then in 2025, we achieve $146 billion at gross merchandise value. This is an amazing growth. It's a doubling within 4 years. It could be actually even higher, but we have double-digit growth with in many sectors. You can see the e-commerce. We have that also in the transport and food, the online travel, and online media. Therefore, as you can see on page number 11, the picture here actually shows clearly that there are a lot of attacks. Of course, if you have economic activity, there's always parties that want to misuse that. So talk about the typical phishing attacks on common platforms such as cloud and webmail, e-commerce, payment, and crypto. Yes, the attackers have objectives. They have commercial objectives to basically steal and the corporate and email credential, or they want to steal the credential of individuals, and they want to basically steal the information regarding login accounts on individual businesses to gain financially from that, of course. And that is something we have to face and we have to protect. And you can see on the left-hand side of this chart that Indonesia, if you look at the statistics on an ASEAN scale, is by far, of course, we are the largest country by far, with 41% of ASEAN being Indonesia. But you can see that also that is reflected in the ransomware detection in ASEAN countries in that particular time frame from January to September 2020. This is basically the situation, and we have to do something about it. The situation, as you can see in page 12, there are the digital cyberspace, which I just described, and I showed you some trends. The trends is going to get even more. We will see, this is the future digital trend for digital business, is social media will be more and more used with a better quality, with more privacy, and algorithms such as AI will help us in order to manage our social media better. At the same time, so it will make us even more use the social media. Also the metaverse, which we have, I think, heard a lot about. Many of us have not really a lot of experience with that, but basically what it is, we go from a 2D web to a 3D web, and we actually anticipate that there will be even more cyber attacks in the different form of the internet, which is the 3D web, which is the metaverse. Then, of course, right now in the last months, we have seen an enormous increase of NFT as a digital asset that has been traded between people. There's a lot of fraud also potentially happening there. And NFT, as we probably know, is also actually underlying is the crypto, and crypto itself is also something which is not so easy to manage when it comes to security. Then we do have, of course, AI growth in food and HR services, and an increased connectivity, which means even better and more digital transformation. Then, as an example, on page number 13, you can see what kind of security issues we actually can expect if you talk about NFT. Yes, we do have copyright issue. In fact, NFT should actually make sure that that the copyright that we actually buy from somebody doesn't get misused by other people. But still, it is possible because of the ease of access to resources and the ability to deploy smart contracts on blockchain. That makes it actually, the misuse or the infringement makes it so easy and so ubiquitous or prevalent. Then there is a possibility of repeat sales. That, of course, the NFT should happen only once. That's why it's non-fungible, means unique. And it's currently deployed only on the crypto technology called Ethereum. But Ethereum is not the only crypto. There are other public chains, which I cannot mention here, but there are others where NFT can also be deployed. And there can be fraud just by using different crypto networks. So there's a lot of potential here regarding repeat sales. Theft, of course, you can steal anything on digital, including cryptocurrency and also NFT. And this is largely because of the theft of keys and the so-called mnemonic phases and storage. I mean, we don't know how to store this really, and this is not really something which is in everybody's mind, but it is a potential that people can steal it from wherever it's stored. So basically, NFT is opens another dimension of potential cyber crime. So let's talk a little bit about another thing that we will see in the future. I mean, we all know that at one point in time, we will see more and more autonomous vehicles that are abbreviated here as CAV, or Connected Autonomous Vehicles. These vehicles, as you can see on this picture that I'm showing here, is actually, it's more like a computer on wheels rather than a car. You can see that the digital aspect, the information and communication technology integrated into the car becomes so dominant. And that's why actually that some of these cars, the electric cars that have the potential to become autonomous vehicles, then suddenly the companies that do this, I don't want to mention the name here, they become suddenly so much valuable than other traditional auto companies because it's not about the car or the business, it's about the information. So that information, you can see here, the sharing of data, inclusive of personal data, makes those vehicles vulnerable to cyber attacks if you don't do anything about it. I don't want to go and explain you the picture here, but you can see that the car is a very complicated information technology device that is coincidentally also moving around. So that makes it even more complicated because it connects to so many different networks, and to steal data from that particular device called CAV is something we have to really be focused on in the coming years. Then in page number 15, you see that actually what did COVID really do on us in the cybersecurity world? There has been an increase of cyber attacks. The nature of cyber attacks has changed. We have basically cyber attacks that have not been seen, either the malware or the methods. There's an increase, so there's a lot of innovation in a negative sense happening. And so basically that has set budget priorities, forcing leaders to rethink security staffing and budget priorities like this. You see that 58% of the respondents have basically increased security budgets, and 82% have added security staff, and 81% have felt more pressure to lower the security cost, because it costs, of course, a lot of things, and there's cost pressure on the companies. Then on page number 16, you can see that the human error concerns becomes really something has been increasing a lot in people's mind. Where before the pandemic, you see the green is basically now, and the orange is the pre-pandemic. You see pre-pandemic, ransomware, the misconfiguration of cloud services, and then also supply chain compromise, that has been more dominant in people's minds. But today, if you talk to security officers in the cyber world, the accidental improper sharing of data by employees is the most concerned by far. Most people are concerned about that. And that is sometimes not because on purpose, but because they don't know. Basically, we have to train. And this is, I think, the main point that I want to give in my presentation is actually the weakest point in the whole cybersecurity chain is the human itself. He or she makes mistake that can be in many cases not intentionally, but because they don't know or they have been tricked. And so the human error that is on page number 17 now is basically the major cause for data breaches. You see, there's a lot of causes that I mentioned here, but actually the inappropriate IT resource used by employee is the #1 major cause for data breach. And if you look into on page number 18, as an example how other governments do that, cybersecurity governments in New Zealand, it's all about culture, management, collaboration, resilience. You see, it's not about technology. It's about how to use it, and how do we educate, how do we make people aware about the risks that they go through every day, everything they do, their work, they live, they learn, has to do with cyber today, and there's an inherent risk of that if you don't take care of it appropriately. So this is, as an example, in New Zealand, that's how they do it. And I don't want to read this here on page number 19. Basically, the so-called CISO and ISM, or the Chief Information Security Officer, and the Information Security Manager, they basically have to manage a lot of things here, which are a lot to do with basically giving guidance and leadership. Then they have to manage basically the cybersecurity strategy, and then they give basically giving guidance to business, then acting as a point of contact, etc. So it's a lot of working with people, but of course they need to be also quite trained in understanding the technology appropriately. And my last slide here, or second last slide, I should say, is slide number 20. The human factor. Again, I cannot. I relentlessly try to emphasize that the key element is the human factor. So the human factor here needs to have a appropriate digital literacy in order to be aware about the cybersecurity effect and aspect. And therefore, the Indonesian government has launched a cybersecurity occupational map, which becomes a reference in the development of education and competency certification. So at the same time, even though this is something I think is also important to understand, yes, we are probably the weakest link in cybersecurity, but we are also the most vital link, because it is the creativity, the innovation power that we as humans have, even though we have artificial intelligence, we have this and that, but at the same time, it is the human that makes the most creativity, the most creative in order to execute something illegal. But at the same time, it's also the human that's the most innovative and creative and create the protection against that innovation that is actually meant in a negative. I mean, yeah. And so that's all I have to say today. And thank you very much. And if you, on my last page, just a little advertisement. If you kindly like to visit our website, please go ahead and visit our website. I think most of the information is actually in Indonesian language, so my apologies for that. But still, I think the results might be interesting for everybody. And in today's world, of course, we can translate any language to any other language. It's not so difficult anymore. There's technology for that available. So I think whatever we have done in the past, hopefully, inshallah, will be useful for everybody in the world. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I give it back to the moderator. Thank you very much, and wish everybody a good day. Goodbye.
ありがとうございました。バンドン工科大学教授、インドネシア国防省サイバーディフェンスエキスパートスタッフ、スホノハルソ・スパンカット様より動画にてのご講演となります。インドネシア語でお聞きになる場合には、オリジナル音声、日本語でお聞きになる場合には、日本語を選択してください。